Guys, I'm gonna show you my book cover. Today, I'm gonna take you through the 2-year evolution process, starting from 2024, where I had my inspiration, my Photoshop mock-ups, all the way to 2026 now, with the rounds of revisions with the professional designer and some of the difficult feedback I had to give them, and some things to kind of look out for when you are wanting to design your own cover. I'm gonna show you every draft, every mistake, and how we landed where we are. I love creating things. I'm very visual, but for this, I had absolutely no idea where to start. I knew that once this book ever got published, that I would like to give some designer a mock-up of some kind. So I did what every other writer does, and I watched tons of tutorials on book cover designs, and I also looked on Amazon to get inspiration as well for the genre that I am in. The first inspiration that made me stop was this postcard. Now, it is not a book cover, but my protagonist sends postcards and takes pictures in and from California, and I thought I could start here. So I went into Photoshop and I found free stock photos, and I made them look like a Polaroid, or at least that they had like a white border of some kind. I played around with the placement of the photographs. I struggled with the font. I was trying to find a font that would be reminiscent of the 90s, and I was kind of struggling a little bit. I didn't quite know what I wanted yet, but this is okay. This is just a starting point, so I didn't get hung up on it and I moved on. And I really wanted some kind of blue. The 90s had very vibrant blues and yellows and pinks, and I wanted to, blue is an inviting color, and so I wanted some kind of blue, some kind of variation of blue. Now, I came across this art style and I wondered if this could be something. I didn't spend too much time on it because I couldn't quite nail down a vision or some kind of path to continue going on, so I wound up just not completing it. And then I came across this cover and it changed everything. Now, the book itself is a very different vibe from my own, but the idea of the girl with the sunglasses and the images in her sunglasses, it caught my attention. I started playing around with looking up girls with brown hair and then girls with sunglasses on a variety of free stock websites, until I found a few with sunglasses that I really liked. And I wound up landing with this girl. She had the brown hair like my protagonist, and I don't know, there was just something about her that I liked. So I plopped her in Photoshop, and I am familiar with Photoshop, so I went ahead and added images into the sunglasses. The story mainly takes place in California, so I wanted to have something to catch the reader's eye that this is gonna take place in California. And the other image in the sunglasses, well, you're just gonna have to read the story and find out. Okay, and then I experimented with different coloring. My story refers to the 70s and 80s, and I thought, why not showcase somehow with these color schemes and fonts? And then I saw this picture, and it was a completely different concept, and I came up with this end result. It's not complete, but at least it was a different idea to give a designer. So with all of the different works and variations that I did, I wound up with 7 different designs. And I knew that if I continued, I was going to go insane, so I forced myself to stop. So what I did next was I printed them all out and I took them to a female friend group. I asked them to give their unbiased opinions. Many of them are avid readers, and so I really wanted their advice and their opinions. Some of the questions that I was asking them was, what was eye-catching? Do the colors evoke anything kind of emotion from you? What do you think about the vibe? What do you think about the font? The placement of the font? Does the tagline spark curiosity? And at this stage, I wasn't concerned about my feelings. This is ultimately supposed to grab the reader's attention. So if none of the designs that I made did, then that would be good information for me. In this instance, I wasn't gonna get offended. It's not about me, it's about the reader. Yes, ultimately, you know, the author should enjoy what's on their cover, but I really wanted to tap into the readers and what they wanted, or what like sparked curiosity for them. Everyone voted actually for this cover, which was great because now I had something that I could show my professional designer whenever I got to the stage that I am at now. So at the beginning of all of this publishing process, I was given a questionnaire about my cover design. Watch my full playlist here for the whole hybrid publishing process that I'm going through. So in the questionnaire, it asked things about my cover design, and I also included the mock-up that I showed you previously to give them a visual, or at least a starting point. I included several different visual inspirations. I sent them vibes, moods, emotions, and feelings that I wanted to evoke for the cover. I was so excited to see what the professional cover designer was going to do. Until I got the email. When I opened this email, my heart sank. It wasn't at all what I was expecting, and here it is. What do you think? What do you feel? Do you notice something or a lack thereof? If you saw this on a shelf, would it stand out to you? Would it look like this was a book that took place in the 90s? Does anything about it scream 90s to you? Here were my specific points of concern. Number one, this was like one of the biggest ones for me, was that the same particular model in this picture, if you remember, was in my original mock-ups. If you look her up on a free stock website, she comes up on the first page, which tells me that she is well known enough, and so she's not unique. And she was rejected in my rounds of mock-ups that I gave the people, so there was a bit of a negative connotation to now see her on my potential final cover. Number two was that there was no visual enhancements to the photo. It looked like nothing was done creatively to enhance the photo or personalize it to make it unique. I was doing it as a mock-up. I at least put some personality and a different spin on it. I enhanced the photo. I did different things to it. I stretched it. They did nothing. Number three is that it really just looked like all they did was put the image in the document and then slap some text on top and put a drop shadow on the text. The font doesn't scream 90s. The colors aren't evoking any kind of mood that I was anticipating. And the colors in the glasses are very jarring. So my final test was I made the image small and I put it next to Amazon books from the young adult fiction section, just to see if it stood out. And to me, it didn't. Nothing about it stood out. Everything kind of got lost within itself. My disappointment was at an all-time high, and I'm not at all trying to be disrespectful by any means, but I knew I was gonna have to have a very tough conversation. I agonized over this because if you watch this video here, I break down how much I was spending on this cover design for something that didn't accurately portray the soul of my book. And now I had to have this difficult conversation with the liaison or the go-between lady that I was working with. Thankfully, I had no direct conversation with the designer. It was always through the liaison lady. So there was that at least, but still it was very difficult. The biggest takeaway here is not to attack the designer, and you don't want to have to try and solve the problem. You just want to identify the issues. You know, you don't really want to say like, just make it more blue. You want to say things like it needs to be more cheerful, or i.e. it needs to scream 90s for my case. So I hopped on a Zoom call with the liaison. My stomach before the call was physically hurting because I was so nervous to talk to them because I was just so, I was so disappointed and I didn't know how to how this conversation was gonna go. As per usual with this company, they were so flippin' nice. Took everything that I had to say to heart. They were very receptive with my feedback. And something that I really enjoyed about the call was that she said after our call, she was going to send me her notes that she took during our call, and then she would send them to me for approval on whether or not I wanted to tweak anything before she sent it to the designer. I did tweak just a couple of things. I then also sent her all of my mock-ups, all of my variations, as well as saved book covers that I had in a folder back in 2024, just for more inspiration for the cover designer, because sometimes all they need really is just more, like a more laser focused idea of what the author is wanting. So a few days later, I received an email with 3 new concepts. I remember getting this email. I was at work. I was super apprehensive to open it. I told myself I was gonna wait until I got home, hoping and praying that these were going to be so much better and more closely aligned with my vision. And the difference was night and day. So I loved all of the different concepts, and they said within the email that I could revise the fonts if we needed to, or the placements of the font in any of my revision requests that I had. Let's break down the new concepts and why I rejected 2 of them. Now with concept 5, even though the colors were bright and very on point with the 90s, what does it look like to you? What does your mind first think of when you see this cover and you see her specifically? To me and a whole lot of other people, it looks like a spy novel, just the way she's holding herself and looking off to the side. It looked very spy novel. Mine's not a spy novel. The font was nice, but my brother-in-law had a good eye, and he said that the C with the cursive font that was on concept 5 looked more like an E, so it read E-Wolf as opposed to my first initial of my first name. And the placement of the font wasn't my favorite, even though I knew I could revise it. I just didn't care for it off the top. Concept 6. My husband actually really liked this one, but to me, it felt a little too much graduation photo, maybe like a journalist, and the background was more 70s. Now, while I appreciate them trying to add some of that 70s and 80s like into the photo, I don't know, it didn't really catch my eye or really stand out to me as something that should be on the cover, even though that was an original thought of mine. Her round glasses, although cute, were very 70s hippies glasses. And like I said, my story does refer to the 70s, but it doesn't take place there. And I also didn't care for the little bubble earrings that she's wearing. My character doesn't wear those type of earrings in the story, so I just didn't really like those earrings. The font, while it was beautiful, it was too slender of a font to me, and it would make it hard to read from far away, or if it was very small. The words "a novel" text was very hard to read, as well as my name at the bottom was quite difficult to interpret. And then there was concept 4. The head tilt provided movement and interest. The font screamed 90s to me, and the color variation of blue reminded me a lot of those cups from the 90s, and I really liked the font's placement. And what I always like to do is test, so I sent off these 3 designs to family and friends to get their unbiased opinions, and I did not tell them which one was my favorite. My eye was very much, if you couldn't tell already, drawn to concept 4, and so we wound up going with this concept. Some things that I wanted to revise. I still wanted the images in her glasses. My brother-in-law had a wonderful design tip. Covering the sunglasses makes it so that the reader can put themselves into the role of the protagonist. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Now, the background was a bit bland and boring and lacking interest. To fix this, I added myself a California cityscape in the background. Doing all of this, I provided a clear visual for the designer of what I wanted revised. Okay, So with some back and forths on a few little tweaks and revisions, I'm happy to reveal to you the final design. But before I show you the design, let's remind ourselves my mock-up, my first draft, and drum roll please. Ta-da! Bum, 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 bum. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Everyone who has seen it loves it and says that it conveys exactly what the book is about. A lot of people have said that it's very eye-catching, and they were being very nice, but they said it would make my head stop and turn at the bookstore. But we have the front cover, we have the spine, and then we have the back with we have the synopsis of the book, and then they put the endorsements on the back of two people who read it, and then we have my little biography on the bottom of the page. So we also put, this was also my idea, to put the cityscape, if you can see it, on the back. See, the California cityscape is also continued on the back, just to provide more interest on the back cover. I am so glad that I educated myself in Photoshop. It gave me an opportunity to create a specific path. I was able to properly communicate with the professional designer, like photo editing terms, and I was also able to recognize what the designer was doing with the photo. So through this process, I kind of thought that, you know, asking for changes was gonna make me difficult. And also, like, confrontation sucks. But, you know, you need to protect your vision. And all they need, if you just think about it, you gotta try and rework your brain. All they need is just more feedback. They just need more feedback from you. They need more details from you, a clearer path on how to go to achieve your end result. And I am so glad that I did not settle because I got exactly what I wanted. I would like to think that I have a good eye for book cover designs, because ultimately they were raving about my mock-up and they thought it was a really good one, because this is basically an enhanced version of my mock-up. I am very interested to see what experience you have had with book cover designers, and I'm actually interested in hearing from professional book designers yourself. Anywho, I am over the moon with this cover design. I cannot be happier. I am so excited to hold this physically in my hands, to just be able to flip through it and see, it's so amazing. I'm so happy.